Hey everyone, it's Scott Norris here for vRealize.net.au. Now today I just wanted to run through the ServiceNow plugin that we've got available, and reason I'm doing this is because I had to go through this recently, so I'm still new a bit to setting it up, by no means an expert, but I wanted to run through, and it's actually quite simple and easy to do. But it's a request that we're having more and more often to have vRealize catalog items published into ServiceNow. It's a great functionality, it works really well together, and yeah, today I'm going to step through those, and hopefully it gives you an idea of how simple it is, and you can go off and try it yourself. Now I'll be using the ServiceNow demo instances, so I'm not using anything special, and I'll be running my own mid server in my lab. So what I've got to do is, first and foremost, is install the mid server. So when you got your instance in ServiceNow, and here, that's no longer the password, by the way, so you can try and use it if you want. We got this dev instance here, which I'm logged into. Now this is just all the out-of-the-box demo content that comes in it, but I want to search for mid server in here. In here we can get instructions on how to install it. So you can actually download it straight from here. Now I'm going to use Windows, just to make it a bit easier as far as showing it off on video is, being more interactive through the GUI. So that should install. Hopefully shouldn't take too long. It's 170. Now once you have that downloaded, we upload that into our Windows box, and this one is the one I've got. We unpack it, doesn't exactly matter where. I'm just going to run it straight out of the downloads folder, just for ease of use once I've unzipped it here. Okay, so once that's installed, well, not installed, but unpacked, we go into here and we can run the installer.bat file. So this should start a Java application, which we then got to enter a few details about the ServiceNow instance that we want. Here it is. So we put our ServiceNow instance. So that's this one here. Here's my URL. We then put in the username for the server. So administrator, put in the password. Yep, so we place the admin account or an account of ServiceNow and the password of that account. So it's not a bit misleading here about being the mid server username, but it's essentially the service account on the ServiceNow side. We go next. Now we give it a name. So in this we want demo mid server will do. We'll just leave everything else. Next, and then we can start mid server. Accept that. And exit. Great. So our mid server now should be installed and started. We can check this by going into our instance, and it should appear in our servers eventually. Let's have a look at the log file. You're seeing it's doing a whole bunch of stuff. Okay, so this should be, there it is. Cool. So the mid server is now there. Now we need to validate the mid server before it is available to use. Now I'm sort of going off memory here, so it's, we'll work through this together. I believe we can just go into it and we can just go, where was it again? Oh, that's right, server issues, no, mid server, validate. We want to allow all of these. Now it's saying that the cool, mid server is being validated. If we go back to servers, it's validating. Fingers crossed it all goes well. Yay, look at that. It's all up and running. Cool. Now we have to install the actual plugin. So now we can do two things here. We can set up ADFS authentication, which I'm not going to do. So you can actually run this without ADFS authentication. What that means is that if you're a valid vRealize user, you'll get redirected to your vRealize site, and then it will redirect you back to ServiceNow, and only then will the catalog items and stuff be available. So that's a little easier to use. So what we'll do is we'll start plugging our way through the mid server. Now I think we need to go to update sets. Update sources. Oh no, system update sets. Yeah, now retrieved update sets. And we want to import from XML, that's right. So we get the XML file, which is downloadable through the My VMware site, and depending on your version, now this version is Jakarta version, but if we look here, I should have, yep, so there's the Jakarta full. Now you do have upgrades too, so in case you're upgrading, and we open that up and we upload. Now we should be able to select preview. Let's have a look at this. Yep, so we can see that it's state loaded, which is good. And now we need to commit the update set. So we can preview update set. Now it's going to error here because there's going to be certain things that aren't available or aren't currently created. Yep, great. So we can go in here. We can see what the error is. It could not find this record. So you've got different things here. We want to do accept remote update, and that should say yep, all good. Now we want to commit update set. We want to proceed. And hopefully that should all go through without any issues. Alright, so that's completed, successful, and now we've just got to configure up the settings. So now there's a good guide on this, but essentially you've got to map some users, you've got to create a integration user, I think they call it, and it's essentially it's got to be a business group manager of the business groups you want to manage. And then you have another user, which is like I just create a local user rather than use service count, but someone who's got to be a tenant admin equivalent, right? Now there is a whole bunch of other optional stuff you can do to help with, approvals and other things, and there's specific mappings, system administrator to system administrator, approval user to approval user, and you map the ServiceNow users to the VRA users, etc. Now I'm not going to go into that today, mainly I'm just bringing it all in and be able to use it, and yeah, we'll move forward with that. So that's all set up, so hopefully now I believe we should have vRealize. Yep, cool, basic configuration. So we want to do basic configuration first. Now this is where we give the mid server name. So I think I'll call it demo mid server. Now again, you can go back to mid here, have a look at our servers, and we can see that's the name that we want there. So I'll go back to VRE, basic configuration. So you want demo mid server as the mid server name. Then we want our VCAC host name. So in my case it's VRA Cafe vRealize.me.au, and our tenant name I'll have vSphere vSphere.local. Now in this instance my integration user is the one that's got the business note, the business group manager. So I believe I've set up a local account called Snow at vSphere.local. The password, I think that's the password. Let's double check. Yep, great. So that's working. So go in here, I'll make sure that password's correct. Yes, I want to import a catalog items. Now you can import existing resources into the Cmdb. So if your VRA is already managing 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 machines, you can actually import them into the Cmdb if you want to. I'll just leave it as yes for now, and then yep, log info. I'm going to go debug on that. I like looking at the logs, and we go errors. So in this case I'll just go local. Now you'd put a proper one in there obviously. We save that. Great. Now we go down to client register. Now this is where we set up our OAuth. Now this has to be a local user. and if you're just using vSphere.local tenant, you can just use the raw administrator, but it needs to be a tenant admin. So in this case, I'm going to use administrator, let's spell it right. Use password because I'm just using vSphere.local. It's nothing special for the lab. We give that the password. Hopefully it should. Yep, so the client ID and the client secret can be anything you want, but it's unique to this VCAC, or VRA I should say. So client ID, I'll do 1 2 3 4 5, and secret, I'll just give it password. We can submit. And done. So that's all linked up now. Now if you go back to client registration, it actually won't be there, and you need to reset the properties. So the properties actually reset if you want to redo the integration. If you mess it up for whatever reason, don't know why it's loading a homepage. We do vRealize. Come on. As we go into system properties, and you clear the value for here and the client ID. So now we look at the schedule imports. Now there's lots of different things you can do here as optional. So we can set up relationships, and you can nest your relationships how you want them. They're done through the normal configuration relationships within ServiceNow. We can rename menus and do a whole bunch of stuff. But what we want to do is actually do a collection. So to do that, we need to run it in a specific order. So we want to do the auth generator first. Now these are actually set to execute every 4 minutes, this one, repeated interval. So we can execute that one now, and they'll execute. Now to see where it's running is the scheduled imports queue. We can see there's nothing currently in there, and we can check our logs here for the logs. So it's got a few things, so we'll wait for the logs. Alright, so that's gotten the auth, which is great. Then we want to run the import services as categories. So we'll execute that, and that runs every 1 day by default. Now that's actually going to go and pull in logged in as the wrong user. So that's going to pull in all these down the side. So that's I've actually got 2 ServiceNow instances running. Now if we have a look at our imports queue, we can see that's all importing and it's processed. It's good. That's what we want to see. So we have to wait till they finish before the next lot. So then we want to import catalog items. Let's go to scheduled imports and look at catalog items. Now this is every 12 hours by default. I'll execute that. So if we have a look at this scheduled queue, we can see we've got ones that are ready to be processed and ones that haven't. If we just keep going back there, we should see them slowly work. Yep. So it's processing them all now, which is great. So they're all processed, and then we can import storage reservations. Is the next one. So where's storage reservation policies, I should say. Yeah, that's every day by default. So I'll go and grab that. So now let's have a look. And first and foremost, after that, we can do import resources. So actually what I'll do before I set up the catalog is go schedule import, and we want to import resources. So this is every 5 hours and 15 minutes, which seems pretty weird by default, so that'll execute. If we go into here, we can see the pre-import Cmdb's queuing. If you go into the logs, you can actually see all this. Let's turn up, there we go. So it's inserting all the records, which is pretty cool, so you can watch this do its thing. So it's processing a whole bunch of imports. So let's see if I can remember how to set up catalog. Here we go. So I can go PAS, and I want to add it there. I can go, project manager, I can put it over there. I can do IAS, that's probably an important one. We can add it there. And again, you can go in here and you can add your own icons and do all the rest of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't pull that through. Now, one thing to be careful of is that if you've got dynamic forms and smart forms in VRA, those smarts are not going to come through. You'll get all the fields you require, but they're all free text fields. So obviously, I'm not a ServiceNow guy, so I'm sure, yes, you can probably have, go in and configure them to be all dynamic. So unfortunately, from that point of view, it's really just servicing up the catalog items and the inputs that it needs. It doesn't have the smarts and the drop downs and the capabilities that is built into VRA. So that'll do for now. Let's yeah, that'll do for now. So we got both them now. We can go into here and we can cancel that. We can go into IAS. What's it done? You can go into here. You can edit this. You can add your icons. Add icons. I can browse my folders. I don't know if I've actually. Pretty sure I have some icons. There you go. IAS one. And we get our IAS. So what I want to, if I look at our resources, and I go to all, because obviously nothing's assigned to me as a system admin. and here's all my resources, all the straight out of my VRA. You see all my cafe, my nanos, they've all come through perfectly. This is a mixture of applications which are deployments by default, and then the VM virtual machines. And there's actually a relationship if we have a look at machine. Although we haven't probably set it up yet. Yeah, we haven't set it up. So you actually go through and set up the relationships. So a virtual machine is a child of an application, and that's all mapped as well. So what I'll do though is now I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log back in. Now see, it says it needs user info, so it's going to send me to VRA. So I'm going to log in as me. I don't trust that. And we're going to sign. Then it should redirect me back to ServiceNow if it's all working okay. Mind you, with ADFS authentication, it's single sign-on. I believe this happens once and then it will never happen again as it keeps sync. Cool. It's taking me back. I've got a catalog. It's got, you can see it's got 13 categories in our catalog, which is correct. Then we can go to, now because there's no catalog item showing up here, what you can do is go back to the VRA. I'm not sure why they haven't come through. Maybe I was too impatient. Import catalog items. Now, when this happens, it actually will grab anything new since the last run date. Now, for whatever reason, if it hasn't imported properly, I'm not sure why it didn't do it this time. Again, I'm sort of just rushing through for this video. But what we can do is go into our system properties. Actually, properties. We do our catalog import, last runtime, remove the value out of it, and we rerun it. Okay, so that would be Roy. Let's basic configuration. Look, I'm just going to change this just in case to a service account that I know. Now, let's do our Alright, so it looks like it's all setting in now. So you had an issue with Doco says that it needs to be a business manager. That's not 100% correct. It also needs to be a user and has access to the catalog items you want to import. Because a business manager itself doesn't actually have access to the catalog items. So let's try it for a new place. So as you can see here, it's creating all the catalogs and instance types and other things. Now what we can actually do too is, while we wait for that to happen, is we can go, okay, well, what do we set up relationships? So if we go to search for relationships, I think it's suggested. I'm going off memory at this point. Suggested relationships. Yep, okay. So we can create a new one. So we go suggested, we choose base class as application. Application, and then we do hosted on parent, I think it is. Yep. Global and dependent class is VMware virtual machine. VMware virtual machine instance. Virtual machine instance, and then we hit submit. Then we'll create one, and then we want to create another one, which is virtual machine instance. So VMware virtual machine instance child, host child, I think. Host child. And the dependent class is the application. Cool. Sweet. So hopefully those hopefully they have been imported now. So if we go back to service catalog and look at items. Yes, I've got a lot more there. So yeah, we can see there that I've got, with my withdrawal funds, which are part of project management. We can go see I've got, CentOS as part of IaaS. So they've all come through perfectly. Great. So let's have a look now. If we look at the vRealize Automation catalog. Oh, I'll create two of them. So look at IaaS. Woohoo! I've got all my IaaS VMs. So I can actually go now. I can go, well, I want to deploy a CentOS 64-bit. You see these are all the properties. You can, these look familiar. These are like the extensibility, lifecycle, machine properties that would usually be hidden in VRA, like no one would be able to see them, but everything gets surfaced. Now you can go through here and you can actually edit this and make sure, say what's visible, what isn't, etc, etc. Now we can add our disks down here, and so what we can do is we can first off, because it's gonna we need to go to workflows, I remember it, workflow editor, we need to look at VRA workflow. There it is. And it always draws it real weird. I'm not really sure why. Validate, it all validates fine. What we can do is we can check that out. Yeah, drew it properly. Now we can double click on this approval group, and this is, who has approval out of the box. Now, obviously if you're enterprise, you're custom, they've already got a ServiceNow team, they've probably got all this down pat, and they can, obviously then tie that into their existing approval policies. But because I'm just going to dev instance with pre-configured stuff, I need to do a couple of things. So we want to change, we can change the groups, that's part of it, so that's already a predefined group. We can also do condition of approval. So I'm just wondering here if we can I don't know what that is. I'm not going to update that because I really don't know what I'm doing in here, but I need a part of this group, so I'm just curious whether we can change these, but look, I'll just leave it because this isn't my forte, right? We will need to publish that back, so it's checked in. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually create another user so I can approve stuff. So let's go to users. Let's create a new user. User ID. Yes, Norris. I'll do. His name Scott. Last name Norris. Password. Yep, active. Email. Local. Whatever time. Submit. Yay. Now let's look first. Norris. And it's not there. Hey, there I am. Alright, so we want to give me a role. Now, catalog and approval user, and we'll save that. And then we want groups, and I want to put myself part of that VRA approval group. Now that's all created out of the box for you. Oh no, I don't want a new group record. Just want a new add a group. So Yep, there's the managers group. Save that. Alright, now let's update Mr. Norris there. Cool. Now, as this is, let's see if this works, huh? What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to log out. Just to test something here. So we go admin and now that will redirect me to vRealize. Well, actually, if you're already logged in, it takes your cache credentials, so it doesn't actually redirect you. Now, I'm going to go to here. Of course not. Let's log in as me. Let's look at requests. Alright, so everything's running as normal there. Now, let's request something. So, CentOS 64-bit, I'll just leave everything as default. I'll order that now. Now, this is going to be waiting for approval. So, hopefully, this works. User, Norris. My approvals. Alright, there's my approval. Awesome. We log into here and I'll go approve. So I go approve. Now that should kick off eventually. Server, and there it is, submitted, in progress, CentOS 64-bit. So we'll actually be able to see that that's been approved. So I'm going to log off my approver, which is me, and I'll log back in as admin. Oh, I stuffed that up. Yes. Now that's why ADFS is probably a lot easier. You won't get that. That's alright. The developer ServiceNow instances aren't made for performance. Cool. So I can go to my requested items, ignore that crappy out of the box data one, but we can see it's gone through its tick and it's currently, waiting approval day one. That's alright. So it is building now and shouldn't take too long to actually build. Yay! Cool, that's finished. So now that one's now gone. So we can see that that request is fully finished and received back. So as you can see, the machine that we've provisioned in vRealize, which was this one, has come through and is located here. service now. We can see that it's active. See it's 1 CPU, gigabytes RAM. We can see that that's its parent, which is its status is operational, and we can again see that that's its child. Now what's cool is that I can go to actions and I get the actions for that machine in vRealize. So for instance, I can power off this machine. Cool. Now if we get back to here, requests, and there's the power off is in progress. Oh, I did it twice. So that's me clicking too fast. But yeah, same thing. We can go to the deployment. We have actions, and we can see we can destroy or expire. So I can destroy that resource, and again, that should come through in a destroy. So look, that's a very rough, quick configuration of the northbound ServiceNow integration. It works really good. Obviously, if you had a bit more flashier ServiceNow skills, you could probably pretty it up and make it just as dynamic, but it's there, it's working. I've got to really, once you read the doco, unlike me, and just sort of try and click your way through it, it really will only take you about 20 minutes to set it up. Now the time is going to be in fine-tuning that, fine-tuning approval policies, fine-tuning the fields that you want to show and how you're going to populate those fields, right? Anywho, it was great to run this through with everyone, and see you next time. Cheers. Bye.